I bought basically the cheapest nude Ford Ranger I could find. And after my first video that I did, you guys had some opinions. Like mainly, why didn't you just buy the XLT? And why would you buy a two-wheel drive truck? Okay, fair. But here's what nobody's talking about. You start adding those upgrades together, and we're talking about roughly $6,000 more. So now that I've actually lived with the cheaper Ranger, did I save $6,000 or did I give up $6,000 worth of truck? Because there is one thing I didn't get that I really wish I had. I'm JTaylor and this is worth it. Thanks for watching. So I basically spend my money on stuff, then figure out whether you should spend yours. And apparently this time, I didn't spend enough. So let's figure out if you guys are right. So first, this is technically a Ranger XL. The STX package is what gives it this look. It's so beautiful, right? Honestly, it's one of the reasons that I bought it. I love this truck because I wanted the cheaper truck. I just didn't necessarily want it to look like the cheaper truck. And I think Ford did a pretty good job there. You still get the STX wheels. You still get the grille. I love the front of this truck. You still get the styling. And most people looking at this, they aren't immediately going to think, oh, look, Poverty Ranger. At least I hope not. But here's where some of you made a pretty good argument on the last video. The 2026 Ranger XL starts around $33,500, while the XLT starts around $35,900. That's a difference of $2,420. So call it $2,500. And when you're already spending like 30-something thousand dollars, $2,500 doesn't sound like much, which is a ridiculous sentence. It's only $2,500. Well, guys, that's how they get you. But the question is, what does that extra money actually buy? So first, let's talk about what I did not give up. I've still got the 2.3 liter EcoBoost. I've still got the 10-speed automatic. It's still a Ranger. It's properly equipped. And so these trucks can tow up to 7,500 pounds. So we're not talking about paying $2,500 more and suddenly getting a completely different truck, okay? A lot of what changes is the stuff around the truck. And some of that stuff is pretty nice. One of the bigger differences is the driver assistance technology. The XLT gets Ford Pilot 360. Mine doesn't have Copilot 360. So there are some things that I'm missing. The biggest one for me is like the blind spot monitoring. I definitely miss that. I had that. I miss it way more than I thought I would. And every time I look at my mirror, there should be a little light right there if there's someone beside me, but there's not. Now, do I need blind spot monitoring? No. I have a neck. Okay, it turns, right? I know, but technology, it's nice. I know, I get it. But when you've driven vehicles that have that technology for years, you kind of get used to that little light on the mirror. And that's probably the first thing on this truck where I've genuinely have thought, okay, fine. I wish I had that. Now, would I spend $2,500 just to get it? Absolutely not. Now, my truck does actually help me if I start to drift out of my lane. So it's not like the cheap Ranger just lets me wander into traffic, but it's definitely not the same kind of lane keeping assist that I've had before in other vehicles. Now, you can certainly tell a difference in this, but honestly, I'm fine with that. I'm currently still willing to participate in driving a vehicle. Call me old-fashioned. And that's really the pattern that I've noticed with this truck. There are definitely nicer things you can get as you move up. So like the XLT also gives you access to like additional packages and technology that you can't configure in the same way in the XL. Things like more advanced camera technology or adaptive cruise control or additional parking technology, wireless charging, bed and power features, and more towing technology depending on how you equip it. And that's where the XLT can become a much nicer truck. It's also where your $2,500 difference can stop being $2,500, if you know what I mean, right? Because that's kind of how options work. You start with, well, it's only $2,500 more. Then, well, while I'm here, and then 6 clicks later, you've somehow bought a truck that costs $10,000 more. But there's another comment I got in the first video. Why did I buy a 2-wheel drive truck? Thanks, Dad. Because yes, this Ranger is 2-wheel drive. And apparently, some of you might take that personally. Again, my father. Here's my answer. Money. And more importantly, whether I'm actually going to use what I'm paying for. Going from a similarly equipped 2-wheel drive Ranger like mine to 4-wheel drive, it adds roughly another $3,500. And let's be honest, there are absolutely people who should spend that money. If you're regularly dealing with snow, or maybe you're Brad Paisley, you want a little mud on the tires, or you're going through some rough terrain, or you're in slick boat ramps all the time. You're actually taking your truck off road even. I'd want 4-wheel drive. And if that's how you're using your Ranger, I would not tell you to buy mine. That's kind of the whole point here though, because sometimes spending more is worth it. But look at how I actually use my truck. Most of my driving is pavement. It's the highway. I'm not crawling over rocks. I'm not going mudding. I'm not pretending I'm an off-roader because I drove across somebody's yard once. So I had to ask myself, how often am I actually going to need 4-wheel drive? And is that worth another $3,000 or $4,000 to me? Well, for how I use the truck, nope. Now, if I get this truck stuck 6 months from now, please come find this video. I deserve whatever happens in the comments. Okay, actually, don't do that. Be nice to me, okay? But right now, I don't regret buying 2-wheel drive. And this is where the numbers start adding up. Roughly $2,500 to move up to the XLT, roughly another $3,500 to go 4-wheel drive on a similarly equipped truck. We're now in the neighborhood of $6,000. Guys, $6,000. Now we're having a different conversation because it's easy to look at this truck and say, you should have gotten the XLT, Jonathan. You should have gotten the 4-wheel drive, Jonathan. You should have gotten this package, or you should have gotten that package. And individually, with those, none of those upgrades sound like that expensive, but put them together. That's the real money. It's my Bane voice. So the question I had to answer wasn't, would I rather have an XLT 4-wheel drive? Yes, of course I would. Give me one for the same price. I'll take it. The question though is, would I rather have it for $6,000 more? That's the difference. So, did I buy too cheap? After actually living with this wonderful truck, I don't think I did. If you want the extra technology, I'd seriously consider the XLT. Because for about $2,500 at the starting point, I actually think there's a pretty good argument for it. And if you regularly need the traction, then buy the 4-wheel drive. Don't save $3,500 and then send me an angry message from a mud hole, okay? Like you're stuck, okay? But for me, I'd buy this configuration again. I got the engine I wanted. I got the truck that looks good. It does what I actually need it to do. And I kept roughly $6,000 in my pocket instead of buying features based on what I might do one day. Do I wish I had the mirror monitoring? Yes. Do I wish I had it $6,000 bad? No. And honestly, this truck actually has me it's making me start questioning a lot of other things. Because we do this with everything all the time. We do this with trucks, coffee makers, with hotels, electronics, whatever it might be. We do this. We're constantly told you don't want the cheap one. And sometimes they're right. Sometimes that is right. But sometimes we're paying hundreds or thousands of dollars for stuff we barely use. So I think I'm going to start finding out, because with the Ranger so far, I'm pretty happy I bought the cheap one. So stay tuned.